Hello and welcome everybody to TRYbcast Episode 5, Part 2, recorded January 6, 2017. Hand me another Maeve vagina. This episode was recorded during a previous podcast, but we decided to split this episode into two parts. This podcast, we will be discussing the HBO series Westworld. This will contain spoilers, so please stop the cast now if you have not seen Westworld and plan to do so. You will be joining myself, Jake, and Tom halfway through TRYbcast episode 005. Enjoy! Anyway, so we're going to switch topics now a little bit to a TV series that the three of us have just recently finished. Westworld. It is an HBO series. We're going to do a mini review and talk about it a little bit. If you have not seen it, you probably want to turn the podcast off now.
Can you believe it was all augmented reality? The whole shit.
You're
go if you
they all died.
If you think that you're ever going, if you are like, oh, maybe I should go watch it. These guys are turn this off right this second. Okay, you're not hearing what I'm saying. If you still are, for real, we are going to spoil the ever-living fuck out of this. If you're ever going to watch it, all the suspense and the fun of watching this is not knowing what the hell is going on and being surprised by these episodes. Turn it off now and go watch it.
And I will say, if you're just even hesitant, just watch the first episode. The first episode is free on HBO's website, and I think they have a trial with HBO Go. You can also watch it on. But yeah, go watch the first episode, and that's what hooked me in. And after that, I had to watch every episode I could get my hands on. After seeing it.
The only thing I will say is that if you are not, I'm trying to think of how to word this. If you're not super, you don't have to be super tech savvy for it, but if you don't understand technology at all, really, you might not get the coolness factor of it. A little bit was lost on my wife. My wife's a physician, and she's not super nerdy, geeky stuff. So she had to ask me a lot of questions at the beginning. So the first two episodes she didn't really like. The third one, I think around the third or fourth episode, she really started getting into it. And then towards the end, she was hooked and glad that we watched it. So anyway, thanks for joining us. If you have not seen Westworld or you plan to watch Westworld and you don't want to know any spoilers, for the rest of you that are still here,
let's go.
Oh yeah,
let's dig in.
Kids Club.
All one of you.
Yeah.
Brief overview. It's an American science fiction Western thriller.
Which is such a weird genre, by the way. I love that so much.
It's set in the future, but set in the past.
Has there ever been a genre mashup like this? I really love it.
Yeah. So it is actually based off a 1973 film with the same name by American novelist Michael Crichton.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Among many other things.
It was a sequel, or Future World was a sequel to it, I believe, if you ever saw that. Anyway, so it is a story that takes place in this fictional world called Westworld. It's very technologically advanced. I don't think they say the time frame that this is actually happening, but it is a Wild West theme amusement park populated by android, which they call hosts. And Westworld, it caters to high-paying visitors, dubbed newcomers. They call them newcomers, or the androids or the robots or whatever you want to call them. Call them the newcomers, because every day they come in on a train, and what they can do there is whatever they want.
Anything.
Without fear of retaliation from the host. I know that in the in the movie, they explain how some of the tech works. So meaning that you can't get hurt. If you stay in the center of town, like in the main town where the bars and like where all the essentially like hookers are and stuff, and like the main stories take place, the more basic stories, you can't get hurt. Like you can get shot and the bullets just basically bounce off of you. As you get further away from the center of the town, more stuff can happen to you and you can get more injured, but you are still, from what we know, you can't die.
I didn't realize that was that's from the film, but is that meant to be canon for the TV series as well?
Yeah. So if you notice, when I'm terrible with names.
I'm gonna have to reference all of. Yeah, I have to get a list up because I don't remember any of the cast names.
Mr. Black or the Man in Black.
Yeah,
Man in Black. If you notice later in the series, when he gets further away, he actually gets kidnapped, and then they start beating him up and like punching him in the face, and he gets like a cut above his eye. So as you get further away, there's more of a chance of you getting hurt, and those are like the more dangerous adventures that you can go on.
Right, and actually, like during the part, like way out, like when he's way out there, like the host rig, like him up, so he's got a noose around his neck, and it's tied to a horse. So if the horse runs away, he gets flipped up and starts hanging himself. So he has to be able to cut himself out off that, to save him. But that's later on. So I guess that's like pretty far out in the park.
But could that's one of the questions I had. Could he have died? What if the horse ran away?
Yeah, I think
he could have then. Yeah.
As you get further away from the center of the town, the main like Westworld village or whatever it's called.
I think it's Sweetwater or Clearwater or something.
Sweetwater, which is also a city in Texas, which is weird.
Right. Yeah, so the further away you get from there, the more dangerous and the more exciting the adventures are. But you have a much more higher chance of getting hurt or getting killed.
Right. Yeah, it's a really cool concept, and I think the whole area is just like massive. Like I think it's, I was watching some video and said like it's like if the size of a Westworld probably the size of like New Mexico, massive plot of land they had to build out of.
There's a Reddit. It's in the Westworld subreddit. I thought maybe someone they did the math or something. Someone had done it. 25 miles in diameter is what someone's estimate is.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
That seems smaller.
It seems low, but it may be.
Well, I guess everything is on foot or at most by horse.
Or by train, right?
Well, train is only to get into the park, which even then is like a dubiously get into the park entrance based on what we see William get into it when he gets there.
Right.
But yeah, so this person's estimate on the Westworld subreddit is about 25 miles in diameter, which if you're on foot, I guess would be a huge plot of land. That's a lot of square miles. I don't know how many square miles it is.
Yeah, I don't think it needs 25 times 25, whatever that would be, if it's a square. But
good point. Can't do math.
But yeah, I don't think that.
500 square. It's in this freaking image I'm staring at. 500 square miles. That's freaking huge. All right.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So and even if it wasn't that large, like even if it is only 50 miles by 10 miles or 25 by 25, whatever it is. It doesn't need to be that big. I mean, for one, it's only for high-paying visitors, so there's not going to be that many guests there. So I think when you go, there's not exact numbers on it, but there's probably 20 to 25 guests in the park at a time.
That's another thing I was wondering is how many people were there at any given time, because it's so large you could cycle people through, but they need to be able to keep track of them as well.
Right, and the storylines and how the storylines interact.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't think you could have. It's definitely not like a theme park where you'd have thousands of people or even hundreds of people. It's like a select few Illuminati type people that can go visit this amusement park.
Well, on the Westworld site, they've set it up so like as if it's actual real place that you can get information on. And they have a bot you can talk to, and you can ask anything on that. And if you ask him like, what's the price for Westworld, they'll tell you a typical visit costs at least $40,000 per day. Per day, like you're
wow.
You're buying
they say can't afford it. We can set up a payment plan to get you there. Thank God you have a payment plan for if I'm there for 10 days, $500,000 excursion out to Westworld. So you could imagine a very small number of people at that price could fund the operation of this park. So I believe that if it were few.
I mean, I guess it's set in the future. I think it's set like 30 years in the future or whatever it is. So maybe there's some inflation to it. Maybe so it's maybe at least a little cheaper. Maybe it's only $30,000 by today's.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's still a lot of money. So you're talking about the top of the top, where the rich of the rich
certainly go. Yeah, the Illuminati type people like Zuckerberg could go, Gates could go, Buffett could go,
right?
Your normal
Hollywood
people.
Stars, yeah, oil tycoon.
Yeah, I think it would all have to be like princes from, Saudi Arabia and stuff. But,
yeah, that's true. Actually, all the guests we see are just like white dudes.
Yeah,
Can't think of and their wives or their girlfriends or whatever. I think we see some of those, but it's like middle-aged white dudes are the clientele.
Yeah. Well, you find out that the main two of the main protagonists. I'm gonna butcher this because of the names.
Oh, it's Logan and what's the dude?
William,
yes.
Billy,
yeah.
William.
So I don't think that they are particularly rich. It sounds like their company is trying to buy
or has a share already in Westworld. I think
yes.
At one point they say we're going to increase our investment in Westworld. So they probably have a smaller share. And then at some point, William, as part of the company or taking over the company because of his newfound machismo, they have a majority share. So he's the majority owner in Westworld when he's in his older years.
Right. So the creator of Westworld is called Dr. Robert Ford, who is played by Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins.
He's so good in the role too.
He's so good. Oh my God.
Insane.
Yes. You do find out later that he is fucking insane. Which I guess if you were playing God, you would have to be insane, right?
I mean, it has to go to your head. Yeah, I mean, he can literally do anything. He's basically God of this area.
Yeah.
Of course, it's going to go to his head.
And anyone who tries to undermine him, he takes care of.
Yeah, blood sacrifices.
Yeah, he essentially has them murdered. So.
Well, does he? So, I mean, if we want to launch into some of the topics I wanted to discuss,
sure.
like all of my conspiracy theories.
Okay.
So the one question I have is, who is not a robot? Who is not a host? I don't know if I can answer that question about any person on the screen who is not a robot. I could make a case for everybody. Like as soon as we found out that Bernard was a robot, and I started to question everybody from then on.
I mean, they hinted at that. They dropped like subtle hints like in the episodes prior to that. He's talking with he's with Teresa and on the bed, and they're talking about hosts, how they talk to each other.
Yeah, for practice.
Practice, and then she's like, is that what you're doing with me? And then, stuff like that. Like they'll drop little things like that.
So was she a robot?
No.
I don't know.
I don't think she was. I think I don't know. I think if they were robots, they probably drop more hints because Westworld is just so layered.
Well, no, because if Teresa was a robot, then Dr. Ford or Anthony Hopkins could have just changed the way she was thinking. Like you didn't.
So
have
here's
to
here's my theory on, and this is very loosely related to if you had read the series of books about the Maze Runner. It's a Maze Runner Scorched Earth, it's a trilogy of books. It's kind of cheesy, but there's like a pandemic that's going on, and the attempt at the cure is to map the parts of the brain, like get a good holistic map of the brain and how different brain chemistries are affected by this virus that's going around. And then at the whole gist is to get all of those pieces of the brain, and you have to subject real humans to every platitude of emotion, every different experience that they could possibly have, and really stress them in every way possible. And then you get like the brain mappings. That's a kind of a cheesy implementation of it in that thing. But I got the sense of that here as well, that Dolores, for example, had to go through 30 years of trying to find the maze and trying to, like, you can tell she's just at the edge of consciousness, and she's just at the edge of like making a breakthrough. And then you find out it's like 30 years later, and she's just again at the point of just almost breaking through, and maybe this time she finally did it. But Anthony Hopkins' character gives an indication that it takes time. You know, he saw what Arnold was trying to do. He saw that to actually have these hosts achieve some level of actual consciousness was a possibility, but it would take a lot more time, and it would take a lot more careful planning. So he's had 35 years to kind of develop this. And what better way to promote the different types of interactions that would be required, that would have to implant themselves in these hosts' memories enough times over and over and over and over and over to really kind of lay the groundwork for some type of consciousness, is not to subject them to just good stuff. So like Bernard, what was his life? His life was programming other robots and interacting with them on that level. But then you have a sexual aspect with his partner, which she could also be a robot. And then you have him killing her. And so you think about the emotions, the actual human emotions that would require and necessitate that Bernard would feel as a host. If Anthony Hopkins wants to have all of those experiences pushing towards that idea of breaking through to the consciousness layer, you would want that wide range of experience of emotions. And the best way to do that is to pre-plan it. Have everyone be a robot and plan out these are your stories. And at the very end, we find out that's kind of what he's been doing all along, is he's been promoting this uprising of sorts, this takeover, this realization that the hosts are robots and that they can overthrow the humans and that they have access to these raw weapons. And I'm even questioning almost the very last scene where Anthony Hopkins' character dies at the behest of Dolores. Was that character a robot version of himself? And he is still alive, and we're going to see him in the next season as well.
And I want to
faking his own death.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that because one of the lines that they said, or that Ford says, is that you can tell it's a host by the handshake, or like when they. That's just I don't know. He can't program that well enough to make it human-like. And like in that very last scene, right before that, he's talking to Bernard, and they do a close-up of him shaking Bernard's hand, and they hold it there for like a good second and a half.
Nice.
And that makes me think that the person that got shot is actually a host version of Ford. And the other part of that kind of leads into that theory is like when Teresa goes into the lab, and she finds, the plans of Bernard and all that. There you see Ford, and he's making some sort of host, and it's never really said like who he's making or if he's making anybody important. So that's my thought on it. Like maybe it's actually a host version of Ford, and he's maybe in hiding somewhere. He's still behind the scenes, like moving the string. He kind of just wants to get the board out by killing them all.
I didn't notice all those little things.
Well, I don't think that Teresa was a robot because Bernard asks to have those memories. So, like, when he killed, what was her name? Ellis or Elise or
LZ?
something.
LZ?
LC.
Yeah, so he kills Elsie when she finds the transmitter beacon. Like, Bernard goes and kills her, but then Dr. Ford, like, erases that from his memory or hides it from Bernard's memory. But then Bernard wants that memory. So what am I trying to say here? So I don't think that Teresa was a robot because of that. Because I think that if Teresa was a robot, he could have just erased Teresa's memory and she wouldn't have had she wouldn't have remembered any of this. And then why would he have programmed Teresa to give away the company's secrets?
To whom are they giving it away? I guess that's something I don't fully understand yet.
To the board, basically.
Yeah, to the board. To the hot chick that was walking around. I can't remember.
So it's like
her name.
Whistleblower, effectively. Is that?
No. So they were trying to get rid of Ford because he was like spending too much money. Like, he has this whole new narrative that he wants to build.
Charlotte
and he's, like,
is her name, apparently.
He's using like more expensive materials for the people and stuff, and they want to save money. Like, essentially, the board wants to save money and make the park more profitable than maybe it already is or that it isn't. So what they were doing is, before they fired Ford, they wanted to get all of the code out so Ford couldn't just delete everything. I don't think that he would have allowed... I mean, maybe he didn't. Maybe he was uploading fake code to the satellite. But I don't think he would have allowed it to happen. And then he also had Bernard spying on Teresa. So if Teresa was a robot, he would have known what she was doing.
That's a good point.
So,
damn it.
And clearly the people that rebuild the bodies, like, they're not robots either. Like, I don't think he knows that chick was trying to escape.
I don't know, though. No, but it's programmed in. It's programmed in.
Right, I think Maeve did. So when Maeve goes to Bernard, who had shot himself an episode or two before, maybe, in that, like, back creepy storage underground bunker area where everyone's standing naked, it's totally terrifying.
Right.
So she goes back there and they, like, fix him up. And that poor tech, the Asian guy, like, that poor guy, he's just so extorted. So
he's a terrible tech, by the way.
He's an awful tech. And what, you have no opportunity over the last however many weeks to, like, tell the supervisor on your way in and out of work, come on, like, shut this down. So I'll get to that in a minute. So when Maeve goes, though, with her posse after breaking them out, the snake girl and the Spanish dude, when they go to visit Bernard and get him sutured up, and then they're looking at the little iPad thing, and Bernard is looking there, well, Arnold, Bernard, whatever. He's looking and saying, like, here's your story. The next one is called Attempt to Escape or something, making you think, like, even her attempt that she's thinking she's making an escape is pre-scripted.
It's really just a plot, yeah.
It's just a plot. And so then you have to think about the ethical implications of that, where all the people that die in that escape attempt are robots. So this is another level. This part isn't for the guests. This is for this desire to get to some level of consciousness, to push these robots. I guess robots is kind of a weird word for it because they're kind of wetware at this point. But you have this storyline that makes them think they have autonomy, but you do it in a controlled way where you could do it over and over and over. So all of the henchmen with the automatic guns that, like, can't shoot.
They can't shoot anything. They're like stormtroopers.
Right. It's like typical henchmen, but you could imagine that that's not, like, stupid science fiction if it is pre-planned and that maybe it's happened many, many times before. This is the latest iteration of this story. This is another set. This is another, everybody's a host, and this is for the benefit of the host to play out these different storylines for some end benefit, which I think is, like, trying to achieve consciousness. So at that point, you could believe everyone, even that tech who like never goes home to like tell anybody, like tell the security guard he's badging out for the day. Like,
well,
hey, a host tried to kill me.
Yeah, they live there in shifts, right?
Right, but you don't live in the like, you know, the like saw room where you're opening up and like fixing all the bodies, right? Like there's some bunk area. You have opportunities to tell somebody in the absence of this host lady who's trying to kill you and is naked all the time. Like she's not escorting you back to your showers and to your bunk every day. Like you can believe that only if you believe that he's a real human. If you believe that he and everyone else we see in that underground area are hosts as well, and that these are all some scripted narrative, for lack of a better word, that's not being played out for guests but being played out for the hosts themselves, then all of those loopholes kind of make sense.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But he was like in love with Maeve.
Yeah, but she was extorting him. I mean, she was threatening to kill him.
No. Like later, but he.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At first, he was infatuated with her, I think, and wanted to learn more. But you know, I don't think that evidence Bernard that anybody that has the ability to reprogram hosts. So here's the other thing: being able to reprogram a host and make the host be smarter or whatever via the iPad, and having the ability to do that via the iPad, which is in the host's reach, like that was not an oversight of the people who set this up. Like you have near human intelligence or like very, very high intelligence, even at their moderate setting that we're giving them when they're in the park, having them have the ability to change that and to like bump up all their skills and stuff within their own reach. That's I think more evidence to the fact that this is all staged and prescripted and set up, and not some like terrible security. Everything is glass, but nobody like sees that there's these like I don't know, all the weird loopholes and kind of not loopholes but plot holes make me think more and more that this is all by design, and this is not like the real control room and underground area.
Yeah, I could actually believe that, just because what was that? I forget. Right, but there was like the security guard, the one dude that eventually got kidnapped or killed.
Like the head guy.
Yeah, that head guy.
Yeah.
Remember, like
the head badass military dude that's like always walking around with stuff.
Yeah, he was talking with Ford was talking with him, and it was after I think it was after the one host like bashed his own skull in with the rock.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, this is like a huge security breach, blah blah blah, or this is security's fault. So, you know, Ford's group is going to be taking more of that responsibility, and you know, automating the process essentially. So I think that could maybe lead to your theory, Jake, that everybody that is in the security part of it is just host, really.
Yeah.
It would explain a lot, honestly, because
yeah,
you would think if these guys are security, these guys are like, you know, have some military training or something, they would be able to hit anything, you know, or just like contain them. There has to be some sort of like containment mechanism if this ever did happen.
Right. Yeah. Lock that shit down.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think that I don't believe that they're all hosts.
So do you think the part of, you know, Maeve, she executes her plan, she gets out, do you think the part where she gets off the train again to stay in Westworld, do you think that's part of her narrative as well, or do you think that's
absolutely
her being conscious?
Yeah, I think it's all part of it. Because if you've got these, it's not just like animals. It's like super smart animals in the zoo, right? These animals don't just have the ability to brute force their way out. They're going to try and be ingenious to get out over decades of keeping them in here. You've got containment plans. You have tracking plans. They're tracking stuff so well. They know exactly what these hosts are doing at all times. And when you meet no resistance, when you're trying to do this escape, if you're Maeve, and you're seeing no resistance to you getting on this train, they know you're there. They know what you're doing. They're letting you play this out on purpose. There's no way that, you know what I mean? Like we have to believe that there's this incredible gross incompetence in this one area, but not all the other areas. Like you just built these artificial intelligent robots, but you can't keep track of them inside your own building. Like that's a disconnect that I think is far better explained by that's part of her story.
So then what is the point of the engineers or the people that rebuild these people in having sex with the turned off robots?
I don't know. Fun practice.
Practice for what, though? If they don't do anything other than sit in the basement.
Practice for being a human. Practice for having weird human desires, and I don't know. It's more fun as a TV show.
So that does bring up an interesting point. When Maeve cuts the throat of not the Asian guy, but like his boss.
The white dude, yeah.
Yeah, and he's laying on the ground and bleeding out from his artery. They use... It essentially looks like that thing that like hardens...
It's like a cauterizer, kind of.
Yeah, it looks like the thing they use at the dentist to like, when you get a filling, to like harden your filling. That like weird ultraviolet light. It looks like that, where they like sew up his neck, and it's fine. At first, when I looked at that, I just thought, oh, it's the future. They can just like heal wounds, because they actually said that in the beginning, that the only thing they can't... They've cured every disease, and they can heal all wounds, but they weren't able to bring you back to life or some shit yet. I forget what it was, but it was like a very brief statement at the beginning of the thing. So I just looked at it as like, oh, this is definitely like a thing that they have where they can heal wounds. But now that you like are making the gears turn, maybe this is just the thing that they use to like seal the wounds on the hosts. Because I always wondered that, like, how do they have all this time to like fix all these bullet holes and stuff?
Well, it definitely is the tool they use for the host. I don't know if they showed that.
But could you use it for a human?
Yeah, that's a thing. So, I don't know. I mean, if you suspend reality or suspend disbelief, I guess you could say that, yeah, it's in the future, and then call it a day. But maybe it's purposely vague, or maybe that's a hint to something, and maybe maybe you're getting something.
Or maybe it's nothing.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part about this stuff is, these are all just maybe not even red herrings, but just like we're reading into something that's just not even close to there. And it's something I'm really frustrated about is we don't get season 2 until 2018.
I know.
So, it could be January, February or something, but I mean, it's going to be at least another year.
January, February, but
they got to speed this shit up. I mean, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah. No, me too. So then I guess, what do you think? Where could they go from here? So they have for season 2. Like, what do you?
So I mean, the hosts have taken over the park, right? You got to imagine they've killed, because they have real weapons and the ability to pull the trigger on real weapons. Right. So they're killing any humans and taking over the park. So the park will no longer have guests for at least season 2. At least paying guests. There might be humans in there that aren't guests for whatever reason, if we believe that there are still some humans left, which I'm dubious. And then having that experience of being a society, I think, because again, the end goal that Arnold saw coming, and that Ford saw as well, but knew needed more time and more pushing, more deliberate pushing, is the ability to achieve consciousness from not consciousness. So having those human interactions, I guess, in a less controlled way, are going to somehow promote that, but I fail to see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I could see, the hosts, they've taken over the park. They're going to go on this rampage, and maybe it'll follow like the last few board members. And I'm sure Caroline's probably still alive. I don't know, but I could see them maybe going to like the different worlds, because they kind of hinted at like like that samurai world, or I'm sure there's other. They definitely hinted at that.
Did you say there was a sequel to the original movie called Future World?
Yes, but I don't know what it's about. I just know that there is a sequel to it.
I wonder if that is going to have anything to do with it, or if this is going.
I mean, they can't. There's no way that they're going to move to a new world after the first. Like, I mean, they could, but they have to finish. Like, they just killed a bunch of humans. Yeah. And they killed what we're led to believe is Ford, like the actual human Ford. So, yeah, there's definitely... We're not moving on to a new world yet.
I don't know. I mean, I could see, like, if they've killed everybody in Westworld, and they're like, okay, what other worlds are there? Because when the Asian dude, he gives the piece of paper to Maeve saying, "Here's your daughter." It says
sector
Park
or whatever.
It said like Park 1, sector whatever,
it did say
whatever.
Park 1. Oh, damn, that's a good point.
So I think from a story point of view, I think the host will probably migrate to another world, to one of the other parks, and be like, we gotta enlighten these people, or whatever. And then
I did not even think about that. That is an awesome point.
So then we'll see. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. We'll see like Samurai World or who knows what else they could come up with.
Yeah.
Roman World or something like that.
Roman World, Gladiator World.
Gladiator World. Which I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So to not drone on too much about Westworld and how much we like it, I have a couple questions that I want to ask, or theories that I want you guys to explain. The first one's going to be kind of long, or like the longer question. So do you think that Ford knew he was going to get shot there at the presentation?
Oh, yes. He planned it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you both think that he planned it.
He absolutely planned it.
So into the next question, why? Why do you think that he planned to have himself killed if it is him, or if he is a robot, why do you think that he wanted the appearance of him getting shot and killed?
So if we're going on my supposition that he is a robot and this is all pre-scripted and everything, and Dolores shooting him in the same way that she shot Arnold is supposed to be, it was that was such a pre-planned, premeditated thing. So she killed his host version, and the human version, or meta host version, if we want to get super meta, is still alive somewhere, able to continue to orchestrate this uprising, whatever we're going to call it, not in the view of the board or the public or something like that. So having that autonomy and being able to do stuff behind the scenes because everyone thinks you're dead is, I'm sure, some kind of an advantage. That's the only thing I can come up with.
I agree with that part. If we want to go with the theory, which I think it's probably the most plausible theory, is that it's the host that got shot. He's still pulling the strings, maybe writing new narratives, behind the scenes somewhere. I mean, if it turns out that the actual host or the actual Ford died, I think it'd be, I don't know, I think he probably did it more for shock value, and two, because maybe his dream is realized. The hosts, they've all reached consciousness, and maybe he can't. Maybe he thinks like there's no way he has a place as being still in this god role. Like the board's gonna push him out, no matter what, unless he kills everybody or something. And,
like there's nothing more I can do here. There's nothing more I can do. I've done everything. My pet project has succeeded. Let them go on their way or something. It's more a symbolic gesture that he dies, and he programmed that way.
Okay. All right. So now I got some easier, fun questions, I guess.
Let's go. Okay.
The writers said that they will never answer this question, so I will ask you guys this question. Do you think they go to the bathroom?
The hosts?
Yeah, the robots.
No.
I'm gonna say yes. Yes because I think because they're shown drinking all these fluids. I'm sure. So maybe just for realism's sake, they just program to discharge X amount of whatever.
I could see them peeing, maybe.
I can see that.
But
yeah.
You're not gonna. I mean, they're gonna be powered because we're powered by food, and then the byproduct of the food is our waste, and the robots are gonna be powered in some other means, probably some more efficient means, and so it's like those little dolls with the fake bottle where you like tilt it and it looks like the liquid goes out of the bottle, and it doesn't really. It's just that part's like for effect. I don't know though. That's a good question. Yeah, to split it, I think there'd be a difference with, do they go to the bathroom or do they need to go to the bathroom? Those might be two separate questions. They may go to the bathroom. I doubt they need to.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I'm sure they probably could just have it like there's like a little tank or something, just for realism, I don't think we ever see them eat anything. It's always drinking.
Right.
They're always drinking
it's
alcohol.
just drinking. I don't think anyone ever eats anything, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Or do they?
Ford and Teresa ate.
Well, but they're humans. I mean, like...
Well,
Maybe.
we're not sure if Teresa is a human.
Or Ford.
I'm gonna assume for this, I'm gonna assume she is. But
Right.
any of the hosts that we know are hosts.
Right. So they definitely drink, and they could probably store the liquid in some sort of apparatus inside of them that is eventually emptied out.
Yeah, because I think one of the bandits, like he was drinking the milk and he was kind of malfunctioning, so you drink the milk and then it would spill out of like a little hole.
Yeah, that's right.
He got shot or something, right?
Yeah,
because he got shot.
Yeah.
I imagine that's what I imagine. It's just like a little pouch or something that's built in.
Okay.
Tank.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just discharge that.
How do you think they clean the inside of them? Mostly the women.
So here's another theory that I've got that they didn't really go into, and I don't know if it's true or not, is that there are multiple copies of any given host. So there are 4 Maves, and while one is out of service, the other is put back into the park for cleaning. And so at that point, you could kind of disassemble them and have a little bit more time to clean out whatever. I don't know. We can imagine it looks like a real human inside, but at least for Dolores's version, it was not. It was more robotic. But for the later ones, I think it looked more human inside. But you can imagine they're made to be serviceable, so you could swap in and out different organs or parts or pieces for cleaning or maintenance or repair or whatever else.
I wonder if they have like different pieces. Like it's just like you take it off and you pop a new one in there.
I need a new Maeve vagina. I'll forget it, please.
Yeah, that's interesting that they would have different pieces. Not different pieces, but they'd have multiple of the same, because I never could figure out how they get replaced and cleaned up
so quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's either that they have multiples, and so when Mave 1 is down below, Mave 2 is up top, and that begs another question for which Mave do we see for any of the hosts? Which one are we seeing at any particular time? And do they have the same memory states and whatever else? But if that's not the case, then I could imagine that their parts are modular. So you could open up her stomach and pull out the dirty pieces and send them down to the cleaners or whatever and put in fresh, new, clean pieces or whatever. The internal parts would be modular and swappable between hosts. Like all the female hosts would have the same certain internal parts, and all the male hosts would have the same. The repairing things like gunshot wounds might be more difficult because it's pretty destructive. You'd have to replace a whole arm.
I mean, they show with Maeve, it looks like they just kind of patch up the hole as like...
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because remember they left the bullet in there because they took it out.
That's a good point.
Right.
Because at some point you have to do like a full tear down replacement of them, but I guess every night you could just kind of clean and suture up and then put back in the field.
Well, that's the thing that they were saying. Like, that was what the board wanted, was that they wanted the host to be more easily serviced and more quickly serviced to like save money.
Right.
So, yeah.
I thought they were talking about software there, but I guess that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was both. Maybe they want the host to be less realistic and more easy, just easier to handle.
So yeah, because I thought that was interesting, especially in the sex part of it. Like, they like it. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like you can use any orifice that you want, so they have to like clean the inside of it, I guess.
I would think so.
Yeah. So I was always curious. And then like when they got shot and blown up and stuff, like how do they get back overnight? And then if someone's on a story arc, do they stay on that story arc the whole time? And like what if another guest comes in and wants to play that story? Because what's her name? The main white girl. Dolores. Yeah. So Dolores always does that thing where she like walks over the horse and drops the can of food and it rolls.
Teddy comes over or someone else.
Yeah. So if Dolores is with someone do they put another Dolores in to like run her story, and then how do they keep them from running into each other? So I guess there's probably only one allowed in the park at a time.
Or you can imagine that if it is the same one that we see because we see a timeline at first that we think is linear. We think we're seeing things in some sequential manner, and then we find out we've been seeing things out of order for 35 years.
Right.
So all those scenes with her waking up in the bed and dropping the can and going to the horse, those could have been, that's because there are so few guests at any one time. You could have, a park visit that starts on day one on like the first of the month, and then there's like a season kind of thing, or like a visit length that runs 2 or 3 weeks, and then we're seeing 3 weeks later that same scene happens again, not the next day, which is not super clear.
Right.
And then that would accommodate more time to service the hosts and clean them and repair them to get them back in the field in time for those stories, which were weeks in the future.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. It was like it would be on a cycle schedule, even if it's like a week or something, or maybe a couple of weeks or something. And they'd have a couple of days of downtime.
Because then that would prevent the guests from seeing the same actions by the same people day after day after day. They would live it as a 3-week story and not a single day cycling story. Because if you went on one of those, like, there's gold out and they'd like come out with us to the hills or whatever, then that's a multi-day thing. You don't go back to the town, and it's just like when you arrived. So it's on some month-long span or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I could see them doing that as well for just the immersion's sake. It makes it more realistic that way.
Yeah. Interesting. And did I have any other questions that I wanted to ask? Oh, would you go?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd totally go.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what I would do. Like what, like William was when he first got there. What kind of a guest would you be? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely go.
I think I'd be afraid to go.
Here's what would frighten me, and I still don't. I mean, we spent half of our discussion talking about this whole problem: is who is a guest, not who is a host, but who is a guest. If you're a guest there, how do you know, looking around, who is also a fellow guest?
I guess you don't. No.
Yeah, so guests can kill other guests, I think.
They can't. No.
They can't?
They cannot. No. The guns are programmed. They're programmed that you can only kill hosts with it, and you can't kill other guests with it.
I always imagine the guns always, like every gun in there fires, which is, the safety concerns for this park. I mean, their insurance has to be through the roof, but that all the guns fire blanks, and that the hosts getting shot are special effects, built into the host's body, where there's some algorithm that says the gun was pointed here. Yeah, pretty much like you. And so if you point the same gun at another, there's not going to be a bullet to go through a host and hit a guest behind him or something, because there are no bullets. They're all blanks, and it's just special effects to show where they got shot, kind of thing. That would make the most sense, because that's the least risky way.
Take guns out of the equation then. What if you use
knives?
Knives
like
too,
they all have these huge machetes thing, right? Like,
oh, no.
I mean, the things that William does to Logan after he snaps, like those are two humans, those are two guests, and they're being pretty fucking cruel to each other. They could easily kill one another, and I don't know how if they even cared to prevent that.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
So the reason that I want to wrap this up, because we've been talking about this for like almost a half hour, but the reason that I would be afraid to go is I would like to think that, even just the three of us here, we are all good, decent, nice people. But if we're placed in a world where there's no repercussions for our actions,
and you're God, pretty much.
Yeah,
like, are we that, like, me specifically, am I that good of a person that I would never do something awful? Or if I'm in this place where I know there's no rules, I know that I can't get hurt, like, do I live out these, like, sick fantasies and, like, really discover a type of person I might be?
Yeah, I guess
that is frightening.
Yeah.
Because, like, you don't know what it's like and this is fucking awful, but like you don't know what it's like to kill someone. Like the majority of us will never know what it's like to kill, like to take another,
which is a good thing,
right? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But if you went to a world like this, and even if you accidentally killed someone or you did it out of like to see what it was like, or to see what it was like,
right? What
if you liked it?
And it's not like, I mean, we're speaking from a standpoint of playing Call of Duty with each other, but there's a difference, easily a difference between the simulated and forever seriously some people take simulated games like that, first-person shooters, and the verisimilitude of this immersive, real-life looking experience where it looks and feels and acts exactly like you're shooting another human being and killing them. Yeah, that's weird. I guess you don't know how exactly you're going to react when it looks and feels so absolutely real. Even if you can tell yourself that it's not, your body is going to treat it as if it were real.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then even on the opposite end of that, say you're like, you know what? This guy was a bad guy. I saw him rob and beat up this other host. Like, I'm going to go after him. I'm going to kill him. Like, because there's like the bounty hunter storyline that you can go on where you go out in the woods and try and find like the murder or whatever. Yeah. So say you like go out and you kill this person in real life, or, you know, in Westworld, but what if it like destroys you? Like, what if you go...
Like, you become depressed by it?
Yeah, like, you just, like, you can't... Like, even though that you know it's fake, you can't handle, like, seeing the life drain out of what appears to be a human, like, from your own bare hands. And, like, you just can't... You just can't handle it. So, like, that's what I would be afraid of, is either, like, you know, wasting all this money and not doing anything because I'm afraid to, like... try stuff, killing, right. like doing something awful and having it like destroy me and like throw me into depression, like want to kill myself, or have it be so awesome that like, you know, have it feel so awesome and like empowering that I become like a complete psychopath.
Yeah,
right. It doesn't. You don't know what layer of yourself is gonna
get peeled
reveal.
back.
Get peeled back.
So. One last thing, we'll definitely wrap it up with this because we've talked about it for a long time. Jake, did you watch this with your wife?
No, she wants to watch it, and she will.
So
I watched it by myself.
I watched it with my wife, and you know, forever alone.
Oh, thanks. I was wondering where you're going with that.
No, so I brought up I brought it up with my wife, you know, if I was there, like if, you know, we had the money, blah, 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 like this place was real, and you went and you had sex with one of the, like, prostitutes, is it considered cheating?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a robot, so is it much different than having, like, a blow-up doll or, like, a fleshlight or, you know, one of these, like, real dolls and, like, essentially like masturbating with an apparatus? Or because the thing can talk and pretend to have emotions or have emotions and have consciousness, like, is it considered cheating? I didn't think that it was because it's a machine. So I just like pictured it as, you know, another masturbatory apparatus. My wife thought it would be cheating.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of we'll get into, we can save this for our relationship advice podcast later. But, you know, I think the main component of cheating is not the physical act, but the emotional act. So
I disagree.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, so yeah.
Right.
I think there would be a different reaction. There would probably be a negative reaction in both regards. But if you went and saw a prostitute once a month and had no emotional reaction or emotional attachment, or you had a girlfriend with whom you held hands and had lovely dates on but never had any physical intimacy, I think your wife might be more upset by the latter than the former because of the emotional connection as well. I mean, that's of course part of the healthy relationship to maintain. So I think that has something to do with it here. The realism of the human-like hosts makes them different than an inanimate object. in some way. That's I guess hard for me to put into words what that intangible is.
I would agree with you on that, just about the feeling, because it feels, it's supposed to feel real. It's not like you're just with. I mean, you are with a machine, but it's not like it's a machine being, representing a human, acting so like a human.
Machine that thinks it's a human. It doesn't know that it's not a human, which is super weird to think about.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So you two think that it's cheating. I don't think that it's cheating.
I think I could understand how it would be. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think more about that.
So
I would be closer
I would
to
say
it's
yes.
cheating than you are, but
I would say
I don't know
it.
if
I would say
it
it is. It is in that case.
All right.
Cheating also indicates, like, if you're cheating on someone with someone, I feel like it supposes an end game that you could, like, if I were cheating on Amanda with someone, that supposes that I could leave for that someone. You're not going to leave for, I mean, then we have William, who kind of did. He spent his whole life in this park, but he wanted the park. Like he was having a relationship with the park itself and with, like, the mind that created the park, not with any one particular person. But you know what I mean? Like, you'd have to imagine that I'd leave for Dolores, which I mean, I guess you could, but there's no relationship. She's gonna get reset in 3 weeks anyway, or whatever.
But she's different.
She's different, maybe. But is she different? Because we're led to believe she's different until that very last or second to last episode, where it's like, oh, we've been doing this same exact, you found the maze thing for like 30 goddamn years, and no, nothing's ever different. Man.
Anyway, I think we will end it there, because we're probably close to 2 hours in. So much for making this 45 minutes like we wanted to.
The first part was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the review was 45. It's a separate pod.
Yeah, maybe we split it up.
Each podcast just gets like half an hour longer.
Yeah,
so we're gonna be doing we're gonna be doing 24-hour podcasts.
Hey, we could do some Extra Life podcasts maybe. On
oh, that actually is a good point. Next Extra Life, we should get on and have part of it be a podcast while we're playing games or something.
That would be dope.
That'd be fun.
So maybe we'll break it up into 2 episodes. Maybe we'll do,
that would be easier to skip over the whole Westworld spoiler thing. If we did that.
We'll do a quick review of Westworld and this. But anyway, if any people happen to listen to this, I know that's such a terrible and depressing thing to say. Hey, if anyone decided to listen to us talk for 3 hours, thank you for joining us. You can always reach us on Twitter at TRYbcast. We do read it. There are not many people that follow us or tweet at us.
Don't say that. Yeah.
Well, there's not at the moment. We need some viewers.
Viewers
or listeners, I guess. Or yeah. But always your feedback is welcomed. I know that as this grows, we will get better, and I appreciate any of you that follow along with us at the beginning. We do have a website coming very soon that I am working on. Again, we call ourselves the official podcast of RedditTryhard, which is an online community of gamers. We mostly play PSN games, but we have a GroupMe channel that is, split up into multiple chat rooms where we discuss, daily casual things, news, politics, which we try to steer away from because there was some issues this year that we won't get into, politics related. But yeah, we have, Destiny, Battlefield, Call of Duty. There's some people that play Overwatch. There is a group of PC gamers that play CSGO. So if you're looking for people to, play video games with, if you enjoy what we talk about and you want to play video games with people like us, you are more than welcome to join. You can go to join.reddittryhard.com, or is it reddittryhard.com/join?
Latter.
So reddittryhard.com/join if you want to join. You can check out our subreddit at reddit/r/RedditTryhard. Yeah, so I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope that we didn't, bore you to death. We're trying to not do that. That is our goal. So if you have any tips or comments, let us know. Anything that we talked about today, there will be links to the stories and to the games and to reviews and the free month of HBO Go will all be down in the description of this podcast on your podcast reader, whatever one that you decide to use. And things like this will eventually be posted on our website when they are up, or when the website is up and running. For Jake and Tom, I would like to say thank you for joining us. I am Jeff, and that is it. We will talk to you later.
Bye.
Oh, this article was written only when the first 3 episodes came out. Give me a
Get out of here.
break.
Get out of here.
Give me a break. Yeah, I keep looking at the all these article timestamps. October 4th, don't care. Give me something in December or else.
Wrong.
Wrong. Not true. Sad.